week 3 of the fantasy football season, and here's a few defense DST units I like this week. The first one, the New Orleans Saints. The Saints here, they've been pretty decent the first couple weeks of the season in terms of points allowed and just playing hard defense, but obviously not putting up a lot of fantasy points. Week 1 for this defense here at Atlanta, 26 points allowed, 2 fumble recoveries and a block kick, good for 6 fantasy points. And then week 2 versus Tampa Bay, that was a close contested ball game until the early fourth quarter in that one. 14 points allowed, a sack, and a fumble recovery. So week 3 here at the Carolina Panthers, I think this defense could cause havoc. I think Baker Mayfield can make a few mistakes in this ball game here. And I think the Saints definitely are a defense that'll finish in the top 10 this week here. And a defense I would start that could get to the quarterback. Baker Mayfield, he hasn't looked great so far in the first 2 weeks of the season. The Giants gave him a fit last week, and I think this New Orleans defense could give him trouble as well. And their defense I would start this week. The next defense, the Los Angeles Chargers. So the Chargers, like I said, I like a lot of guys this week in this matchup versus the Jacksonville Jaguars. And I like their defense as well. So this Charger defense with Khalil Mack and Joey Bosa obviously could cause havoc and get to the quarterback early and often. Week 1 versus the Raiders, 19 points allowed, 6 sacks and 3 interceptions. And then week 2 in a tough ball game and a great Kansas City Chief offense, 21 points allowed and a sack. But week 3 here versus young quarterback Trevor Lawrence and this young Jacksonville Jaguar offensive line, I think they could get to him early and often. It's a home game here for the Los Angeles Chargers, and they want to get back on the winning track. And I think in this one it starts with the defense, and I think the offense will have a great ball game as well. So right here, great matchup, great 2 pass rushes on this D-line, and they get back on track and could definitely have a top 5 performance this week here. Next defense and special teams units, the Pittsburgh Steelers. So the Steelers, week 1, they had a great start. 20 points allowed, 7 sacks, 4 interceptions. Fumble recovery, a touchdown, a block kick at the Cincinnati Bengals. But in week 2 versus a worse offense in the New England Patriots, almost New England, they didn't do anything. 17 points allowed and an interception. But week 3 here, Cleveland on a short week with Jacoby Brissett as the quarterback here. I think the Steelers defense can have a similar type of ball game like they did in week 1. I don't think they're going to get 5 turnovers in the game, but I think 2 or 3 turnovers, mid-teens to low 20s, I think in terms of points they give up here. And this is a divisional ball game on Thursday Night Football, so I think this Steelers defense, they go into the dog pound, play good football, and put up a good performance. And we know Watt's out again for this game, but I still think this defense can make plays and it'll be a defense to start this week. The next defense is the Dallas Cowboys. So the Cowboys so far 1-1 on the season with starting quarterback Dak Prescott out a few more weeks with that broken thumb. So right here, the Dallas defense, they play hard, they get to the quarterback, and we've seen it the first 2 weeks of the season. In terms of points for fantasy, not that great, but only 19 points allowed in week 1 versus that Tampa Bay offense, 2 sacks and an interception. In week 2 versus Cincinnati, 17 points allowed and 6 sacks. So week 3 hit the Giants, Monday Night Football. Going to be a good ball game, good NFC East matchup. Giants 2-0 so far going into the season, but I think that's a little bit fluky. And I think Micah Parsons, no one on that offensive line really could stop him here for the Giants. He's causing havoc early and often. I think this Cowboy team could get 3 or 4 sacks in this one. I think they could keep the points in the mid-teens to low 20s in this one, and I think they could actually get a few turnovers. Obviously, Saquon Barkley could be a problem in this ball game for the Cowboys, but besides that, if they can limit Barkley and hold them down for the most part in this ball game, I think their defense has a good performance, and their defense available right now in over 50% of fantasy leagues, and I would give them a start this week. And the 5th and final defense I would look to start this week is the Cincinnati Bengals. So the Bengals, I know they had a good matchup on paper last week versus the Dallas Cowboys, but their defense didn't do much. 20 points allowed, a sack, fumble recovery, and they lost the ball game. And in week 1 versus Pittsburgh, versus not a great offense, 17 points allowed in a sack. But week 3 here at the New York Jets, I know the Jets have been throwing the football a lot, second in the league in pass attempts here is this Jet team with 104 coming into this ball game. But Joe Flacco, if you get a hand on him, he's going down. Obviously, he's not a mobile quarterback, and he's not the Joe Flacco he was when the Baltimore Ravens obviously won the Super Bowl many seasons ago, but he's still a serviceable quarterback. Jets are obviously making plays, but I think the Bengals in this one could get to him. and make a few plays. And this Bengal team here, they need a win in this ball game in a worse way. 0-2, Super Bowl hangover if they get into the Super Bowl, but not getting the job done, obviously, versus the Rams. But I think their defense gets back on track in this one. And their defense I would start this week. So that's a few defense DST units I would start here for week 3 of the fantasy football season.